So, as I said, I'm Lynn Whitbeck with Petite to Queen, and we are on Get More Clients. As you can see from my background, we are recording from a hotel room. I was traveling for business and I'm on my way back, but haven't made it. The lovely Rachel is going to be joining us, and she's going to be doing the show today. And she's going to be talking about how imposter syndrome shows up in your sales. And this is such a great topic because, sometimes self-doubt is always there. It's like the negative Nelly whispering in your head. And the thing is, if you really tap into the negative Nelly, what happens is that you go down into this negative cyclone. And so here we have beautiful Rachel ready to go and take over the show. So I'll turn off my background and hit mute. And Rachel, take it away.
Thank you, Lynn. And for everyone who's with me today, thank you so much for being patient. Obviously, things have been a little bit wonky this afternoon for me, this morning for perhaps you. But that actually feeds just really, really well into today's topic. So as a formal greeting, hello, everyone. Welcome to Get More Clients. I'm Rachel Whitbeck, and as Lynn maybe mentioned while I was struggling to get everything going, Lynn is on a well-deserved adventure, so that's why I'm stepping in this week. But business owners and entrepreneurs hire Lynn to ignite winning sales success, and because most are chasing down leads and lack client retention, conversion, and profit. The mission of the show is to educate, inspire, and motivate people around the world to help build a robust sales strategy to get more clients, because most can't get more clients and they have no idea why. You will learn to transform thinking to the client's perspective, eliminate the lengthy, chaotic sales cycle to ignite your sales, and unleash lasting profits. You will also have an opportunity to connect with Lynn further to see how she can support you beyond today, what she already has today. So last week, Lynn shared with you how to manage your sales and business needs on the road. And today, I'm going to discuss with you how imposter syndrome shows up in your sales success. So with all my challenges today, it kind of maybe made a little shake in how confident I feel myself when it comes to managing to just get online. But that's okay because I have gone through the steps that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So imposter syndrome is a common challenge for many sales professionals and entrepreneurs. It saps people of their confidence and makes pursuing new and maintaining existing client relationships just that much more difficult. But luckily, there is a way to combat it, which I had just hinted at before, and that's called the INSPIRE method. So by the end of today's show, you will know what imposter syndrome is, what the INSPIRE method is, and how to combat imposter syndrome and open yourself up to sales success. By using the INSPIRE method, you will learn how to overcome imposter syndrome so that you can get out of your own way on your journey to sales success. But before we can talk about getting rid of imposter syndrome, we need to be clear on what it is. So Psychology Today defined imposter syndrome as a psychological phenomenon in which people are unable to internalize their accomplishments, which creates a pattern of thinking where people with imposter syndrome often feel like frauds, that their successes are based on luck rather than their own skills, and that they have somehow fooled everyone around them into believing that they're more competent than they actually are. These people's doubts of their own qualifications are contrary to the external evidence that they actually are as competent as other people believe them to be. Cognitive distortions like this are ways that our minds convince us as something that isn't really true. So imposter syndrome, that would be downplaying your strengths and abilities. So imposter syndrome, as I would mention there, is a distorted form of thinking. So now that we know what imposter syndrome is, let's talk about whether you might have it. And I want you to be really honest with yourself as you ask yourself these questions. Do you often feel like a fraud at work or during sales? Do you feel like you're tricking people into believing that you know what you're doing? Do you have automatic thoughts that go off in your head about your strengths and abilities, especially when accomplishing something? Do you often brush off your accomplishments? Do you tend to credit the team or luck for your accomplishments? Now, when it comes to the team, there's a big difference between being humble and spreading around the credit, and refusing to internalize your accomplishments. So I want you to ask yourself, do you have a hard time being proud of what you've done? So when you've asked yourself these questions, did you recognize any of those symptoms in yourself? If you answered yes to any of them, then there's a possibility that you suffer from imposter syndrome. So if you have imposter syndrome, what can you do? Well, I wish I could teach you a quick trick to make your brain accept that you really are super amazing. It's unfortunately not quite that simple. There are no cut and dry steps that I can just tell you to get rid of imposter syndrome. And anyone who's trying to sell you such a quick fix is, lying. But what I can offer you is what we have developed here at Petite to Queen, a set of habits that you can cultivate and practice to reduce your self-doubt and overcome imposter syndrome's thought pattern. And we call it the INSPIRE method. It's a set of 7 habits and practices that will help you kick imposter syndrome's butt. So INSPIRE is an acronym, and each letter represents a habit or practice. So let's go through each one of them. So the first I in INSPIRE stands for imperfect. Imposter syndrome and perfectionism are really closely tied, and letting go of expectations is perfect for starting to move away from imposter syndrome. It's important to remember that nobody is perfect, and you can't hold yourself to such unrealistic expectations. We all have idols and even colleagues that we look up to and that we admire. And when someone seems to really know their stuff and carry themselves with confidence, it can be easy for us to forget that they're just human too. They have flaws and insecurities, and they absolutely make mistakes. The truth is that they're not any different from you. They just know how to work with their flaws, as one might call them, rather than trying to work against them. So what do I mean by that? People who are truly confident in their competence tend to do 2 things. First thing is that they recognize their quirks and flaws that they might have and find ways to use them and manage them. If they tend to chat too much during work, then they might set a timer for themselves when they decide to go off to find someone to chat with. And they might use that little quirk to get to know their colleagues and create stronger working relationships. If they're a bit messy, then they might set a time every week to tidy up their desk, but they might also spend time looking at their messy desk and finding missing connections that you might not have made if you had everything kind of separated. So having a slightly untidy space can really inspire some new thoughts and ways of seeing things. So I want you to think of 1 or 2 quirks, or what someone might call flaws, in yourself. Now, you probably already had thought of ways of managing them, but if you haven't been able to, then after this episode, then you can do that then. A simple trick like a timer or a weekly cleaning should typically do the trick. Next, I want you to think about how you can use those quirks. So everything that we call a flaw has a flip side. If you're quiet, then maybe you're a really good listener. So just take your time when you think about these things that someone has maybe called a flaw in you. You can often find ways to use it and be surprised by how good they can make things for you. So the second thing that confident people do, I think, is even more important. So we've talked about how they manage and use their little quirks, but confident people are also really good at forgiving their mistakes. See, we're all human and we all mess up. They do too. We watch ourselves make the same mistakes again and again, which can be really frustrating, but that's human. When you make a mistake, it's important for you to acknowledge it. If it's something that you can fix, then go ahead and fix it. If it's something you need to apologize for, then go ahead and apologize. If it's something of a habit that you see yourself doing frequently, then try to figure out why you've developed this pattern and then work on changing it. The important part is that you're gentle with yourself, though. Progress is never linear, and you'll have step backs among your steps forward. So that is completely normal. The most important thing is to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. You're trying your best, and your best is usually going to be perfectly good enough. Even if your quirks outweigh your strengths, the people around you just don't see it that way. So even if you think that way, that the balance is off, the people around you just don't see it like that. There's a reason you have your job. There's a reason you've accomplished the things that you have. So sometimes it's okay to just trust others' judgment, to consider that maybe you're doing just fine. So next time you make a mistake, try journaling about it, write down what happened, what were your thoughts leading up to, during, and after the incident, and your feelings, and try to untangle why it happened. Find a way to avoid it in the future, and then forgive yourself. And that's the most important part. I want you to write out after you're done journaling about the event, I forgive myself for this mistake. And once you do that, you can move forward. So the N in INSPIRE comes from new focus. So it's a new focus because we're shifting away from focusing on those things, those quirks that some people might call flaws and mistakes, to looking at our accomplishments. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because just a couple of weeks ago, Lynn spoke at length about creating a value vault in the episode, Why Unlocking Your Unique Value Vault Promises Rewards. So if you go back and watch that episode, you will know a lot about how to create this value vault that we're using for New Focus. So essentially what you're doing in New Focus is creating your value vault and moving forward with it. So once you've created that value vault after watching that episode with Lynn from a couple of weeks ago, it's important for you to keep it somewhere accessible. You can print it and keep it on your desk. You can pin it to your wall. You can keep it on as a file on your desktop that you just look at every now and again. But it is important that you look at it, on a regular basis, maybe weekly or monthly. And that's going to help you keep imposter syndrome-like thoughts at bay. So you can look at your accomplishments, you can look at this list of strengths, and remind yourself, focus on the things that you have already accomplished that prove that you're good enough. When you do this, you can start to focus on what you have already done rather than what you have left to do. Looking forward is good, but it's always important to take a moment to look back every now and again just to see how far you've come. So we've got through I and N. The S stands for strengths and opportunities. This habit grows directly from our New Focus habits. So you have your value vault and you're thinking about how far you've come. And this is really, really good and it's really empowering. And now we can use that list of accomplishments to make a list of strengths. So look at each accomplishment individually and identify which strengths it highlights in you. With your value vault, you don't only have to list things that are related to sales or your career. It can be things that some people might consider small or frivolous. So in this example, if you've completed a really challenging video game, then the strengths that might highlight in you are perseverance and problem solving. If you took the time to shovel your neighbor's driveways after a snowstorm, that demonstrates hard work, compassion, and kindness. So don't be shy or humble during this whole process. Find the strengths in everything that you do. And it's important that you do this as though you're talking to your best friend. Even if it's too difficult for you to say that you have these strengths, you can at least acknowledge that you've demonstrated them. And as you list each strength, think about how it will help you with your current job or your current sales prospects. Of course, I said that the I stands for strengths and opportunities. It's important that you list out your strengths in order to remind yourself of how much you have to offer, but it's also important to be honest about where there are gaps. As much as I would like to tell you that you're perfect, no one is perfect, and that's an important part of being able to move forward. A difficult part of overcoming imposter syndrome for me was my skepticism, that I was deluding myself into thinking that I had imposter syndrome, but I actually didn't because I actually wasn't very good because it wasn't perfect. So making a list of opportunities was a way to ground this whole process in reality for me. Also, another way to think about it is your list of opportunities is really empowering. It delineates ways that you can grow and develop personally and professionally so that you can gain confidence as you learn each new skill. So a good way to start your list of opportunities is by looking at your list of accomplishments. So if you look at your list of accomplishments, you might be able to identify moments where you could have grown. So if you look at something that you did already really well, but you can remember something that, it would have been great if I had already learned how to negotiate better, or some conflict resolution, this could have gone even more smoothly. It takes a little time to list out your list of opportunities for growth, but remember that this is meant to be an empowering thing. And it goes directly into the P in inspire, or positive learning. So if you look at your opportunities for growth, it's remember that it's empowering to you, because it's giving you a clear blueprint for which your skills can continue to develop so you can become even more confident. A large part of imposter syndrome is feeling like you don't know what you're talking about. As you're creating your value vault, you might have that nagging voice in the back of your head reminding you of everything you don't know. But with your opportunities for growth, you can develop a habit of positive learning, which is seeing each of those opportunities as exciting. It's an opportunity, as the name suggests, to learn something new. And it gives you a plan for how you might move forward. So to practice positive learning, choose one of your opportunities for growth. Choose one that you're most excited to learn about. So if you really wanted to learn about negotiation, start with that one. Or maybe you already have the resources to learn about conflict resolution, so you can start there. So if you already have a book or know about a class or a webinar that you can take, that'd be great. And once you have your plan, approach each learning session with excitement because it's an adventure. You're there to add value in yourself and make yourself even more competent, although you already are. So remind yourself that you're an excellent learner, you're an excellent leader, and the reason that you're developing this skill is to become an even better one. So the second I in Inspire is for ignoring social media traps. It's a little bit different from the other ones, but it basically comes down to this. Social media, as we all know, is a highlight reel. And so when you're viewing your peers' posts about the highlights in their life, you might start comparing your own life against it. You might feel a little bit bad about yourself, even though you know that you're only seeing the best and you're focusing on your own worst with imposter syndrome. So if it's something that's creating an issue for you, there are two good ways that they can fix this. One is by looking at the social media posts as sources of inspiration. So if you see someone getting married, you might be able to draw from that an inspiration of commitment and following through on something, whether it be a relationship or in this case, your sales or career. But if you're not able to reframe things that way, then it's okay to take a break from social media or to just let a lot of it go altogether. Now, when it comes to your professional business social media, that's obviously not precisely the same. So if you're having struggles there, then you might see if you can get someone to take over the social media for a while. But I find that there tend to be fewer problems through your business social media than your personal. So this is mostly for your personal social media that I'm speaking. So the R in Inspire is recognizing constructive criticism. So if you're like me, receiving criticism can be very difficult. It often is for people with imposter syndrome. But it's important to remember that constructive criticism comes from a place of admiration and respect. It's remembering that the reason these people are giving you this feedback is because they already see your potential. They already see everything that you're doing really well, and they're trying to stack you up to become even better. Because if they didn't see you as someone who could grow, if they saw you as hopeless, then they wouldn't be wasting their time trying to build you up. So it's really important to remember that the constructive criticism is coming from a place of respect and admiration. You can take the whole positive learning thing that we spoke about earlier, and apply it here too, with each piece of feedback that they give you as an exciting opportunity for you to grow. If you're having an extra hard time, it's okay to ask some questions about the feedback that you're receiving. A good thing, if you need a bit of a break, is asking what have you done correctly or what have you done well that you should continue working on, and then you can return back to some of the points that they were making about things that you could improve. So the final letter is E, and that is for embracing your achievements. This one is for you to carry in your back pocket at all times. It's not enough for you to list your past achievements like you did in your value vault. It's for you to carry it around all the time. You can't just create the list and set it aside. What I mean is that you should be embracing and celebrating every single thing you achieve. And trust me, all those micro tasks that you do take up a lot of time and headspace, and they're necessary for the smooth sailing of your sales. Small things like scheduling meetings, responding to emails, or even taking a shower deserve a pause and acknowledgement of the work that you put in and the good outcomes that those tasks serve. So for those tiny things, I would say just take a moment and say, yes, I did it. Embracing achievements definitely applies to the big things too. So when you nail a presentation, complete a project, or get praise from a client or a manager, celebrate it. Treat yourself. You can go out and buy yourself some ice cream, or you can take yourself to the spa. If anybody asks, or even if they don't ask, just tell them that you're celebrating tonight because you did X, Y, and Z. So embracing your achievements is going to help keep your mind focused on your amazing skills and attributes and out of the imposter syndrome spiral. It feeds back into that list of accomplishments that you did for the new focus, that value vault, and you can keep referring back to it in the future. So by embracing your achievements every day, you'll be able to go back to your value vault and continue to add things bit by bit. Challenge yourself to list every accomplishment that you can think of for every day, for the next 7 days. And I would love to hear back next week about how you did and what sort of things made your list. So you've learned and are on your way to mastering the Inspire method. So just to review, the first I is for perfect. Remember that nobody's perfect and that you can work with your quirks. N is for new focus, which is focusing on your accomplishments by creating that value vault that Lynn talked about a couple of episodes ago and training your gaze on those accomplishments. S is for strengths and opportunities. You take your list of accomplishments in your value vault and create a list of strengths that those demonstrate. And you also find the opportunities for growth, the ways that you can expand and continue to improve. P is for positive learning. You look at your list of growth opportunities and get excited about forging a new path and becoming even better. The second I is for ignoring social media traps and not getting sucked into the difficult places that social media can bring you sometimes. R is for recognizing constructive criticism as something that is positive and comes from a place of respect and admiration. And E is for embracing your achievements and carrying around that attitude of being proud of what you do every day. So remember that these are habits, not simple tricks. That means it's going to be an iterative process for you. So each day you practice it, you'll get better, and you get closer and closer to saying goodbye to imposter syndrome. So thank you so much for tuning in. Our purpose is for you to get more clients. Bottom line, don't make this harder than it has to be. Sales should be a win-win. On behalf of Petite to Queen, Lynn has carved out a limited number of time slots to invite you to hop onto your Ignite Your Sales call with her to see what's working, what's not working, and what you would love to have working. She is going to see how she can further support you in effectively generating more leads, converting more sales, and fulfilling your promise as a brand and organization. The fastest way to success is to assure people that they matter. The best way to make this happen is to build a consistent sales strategy to acquire, convert, and capitalize on every lead. You'll find growing your business is easy and lucrative. So today I shared how imposter syndrome shows up in your sales success. The key is for you to implement these steps to stop wasting energy and resources. You have the opportunity to jump in and get the support you need for true success. Say yes to you and get on a call with Lynn. She is truly gifted at this, and you deserve a shortcut to your success and with the right support. So go to p2q.link/win-win, p2q.link/win-win. Get More Clients is a program designed for immediate on-the-fly implementation and individuals committed to taking action to move their business forward. To learn more about our Get More Clients programs, visit our website at petite2queen.com. You can also connect with Lynn on our website, and to stay current with our insightful advice, breakthrough advantages, and never miss an episode, sign up for our weekly wisdom newsletter at petite2queen.com. Next week, Lynn will be back sharing new and great lessons for you to continue building your sales career. And she will see you next week on Get More Clients.